Dunk.
What are we doing, guys, gals, and non-binary pals? Hinfail here with another memes wacky build video. Sadly the last one of the season because I have to move house. So next week I have to start packing. But yeah, this build, I love it so much that if it's in my top 3 for a season starter for next season. Some would argue it's just a trapper with extra steps because, you know, most trap-sins will throw out Chain Lightning Sentry and then follow up with Shockweb, or throw out Wake of Fire and follow up with Fire Blast. But I'm doing it the other way around. Fire Blast, Shockweb. Now, in LOD, I used to meme on this build a lot, because they've always had decent synergies, the two of them. And we all know I do love a 2-element build. So I get to, you know, wreck lightning immunes with Fire Blast and vice versa. The gear choices might be a bit unorthodox, but we'll go over my rationale. So yeah, might as well start here with gear. So, this set gives you some juicy bonuses. And if you can get the right slams on it, then it's golden. So, it might be difficult if you start late in the season. You know, you're probably better off, you know, with uniques. And again, if you want to be super powerful, like just go pure Shockweb and lightning and things like that, then, you know, wear a Griffs, you know, wear lightning gear. Or, you know, go Fire Blast completely and just wear Phoenix and Rising Sun and all that kind of stuff. But again, this is me. I do love the 2-element factor. You can take on all comers. But anyway, let's get on with it. So, Dangoon's teaching. So what you want from this is a +1 to all skills slam, P-box for 2 sockets. All of my slams aren't brilliant, so but I've got 2 sockets, and that's important because you want to slam 2 foul runes in there to get the strength up, because the strength requirements on these sets are, it's insane, the pieces I mean in the set. The 33% chance to cast level 31 Frost Nova does proc a fair amount because you have to stand up close and personal with this one. I'll go over the sort of skill mechanics later on in the gameplay, but suffice it to say, the Frost Nova's proccing a fair amount from your Blade Shield, which is really, really good for, like, just chilling people who aren't cold immune, of course, and keeping them slow so they don't attack. And obviously my Mercenary is helping me with that because she's physical with the slow movement. So that's the factor there with that weapon. It's quite a fast weapon, 40% increased attack speed, so with a minimal investment into burst of speed, you will get the 9 frames max trap laying with this setup, which doesn't sound very fast, but you know, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. On to Ondals. So you want a +2, with obviously as high a strength and dex and things as you can for blocking and gear equipment. And also you want a +1 skill slam and then a 2-socket P-box. So with this one, sadly, I just got a lightning resist slam, and then I think I actually just Larsic hammered it because I was like, let's just get it on, you know, get the set complete. The 10% chance to cast Weaken on striking is also a really useful factor for keeping you safe. Now, if I was to change my Mercenary, I would have an Act 2 Mercenary with Defiance to get my defense bonus even higher, and he would have Infinity to help me instead of my Mercenary having Pus Spitter, so that the Weaken and the low resist from Pus Spitter and the Weaken to keep me safe don't override each other. You are the tank. So I sort of don't really mind having an Act 1. She can be kind of squishy, but again, we'll go over that in a bit. So amulet-wise, I just slapped this on because it's, you know, a couple of skill points, resistances, attributes to help put your gear on, and then mana per kill because traps are mana thirsty, as we all know. So here, you would ideally have some kind of crazy Lucion amulet that you crafted with max reses, poison length reduction, life, you know, you name it. But then most importantly, it would have cast, you know, +2 to assassin skills, slammed for +1 all skills, and then Lucian for a further skill. So we have as much to traps as possible. So Tabex, as you can see, you need 185 strength for that. So if you get, you know, 145 base strength, 20 strength from the 2 foul runes, you get strength from Ondals, and you can get some strength from Treks, maybe even charms and things as well. But getting this shield on, like I said, it's tough work. I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, just slap a couple of minus requirement jewels in there. Obviously, if you're super rich, 2 minus requirement jewels with 15 all res on them. So this one just slammed for 2 sockets. So I was like, oh, fine. And because I actually invested enough to put the strength on properly, I put 2 runes in there to help me with my res. So I'm overstacked on res for when I'm going to do Uber Tristram with this character and watch them melt under shockweb. But yeah, this shield's amazing. Crazy block for fairly minimal investment, so you get faster block rate, and then with you know, a couple of points into weapon block, you get the breakpoint of 32% faster block rate. So with the armor, this one slammed 3 sockets. So I put in, I was lacking cold res, so I put 2 full runes and a rubbish lightning facet in there, under the thought that if I do take it apart again, I'm not losing much. Ideally, you'd like to have, again, a +1 skill slam, 2 sockets, and if you've got your res covered elsewhere, and you've got decent charms and things, which I do not, then you could put a lightning facet and a fire facet in there. Same with the helmet, really. If you had two sockets there, your res was fine, you could slap in, you know, same again, a fire and a lightning facet. But, you know, probably keep the ums in the shield. It's necessary. So yeah, boots, as I touched upon, we've got Sandstorm Trek for the fast hit recovery, bonuses to strength and vitality, even more replenish, which I'm not particularly upset about. I do love replenish life, especially when it's above 100. That's when you start to really notice it. Like, it's insane. So here, ideally, I would have a skill ring, but I'm broke, and my skill rings are on other characters. I could swip and swap, but I can't be bothered. So yeah, put a skill ring in there, people. Put a Stone of Jordan or a Bull Kathos wedding band to get some life, you know, per character level. But yeah, mana per kill, life, bit of res, it's not brilliant. Bit of NDR, whatever. Arachnids, obviously, for the +1, you want as many skills as possible in the trap tree. Faster run walk is great. Cast rate, although as a trapper it might not be necessary. Look at the speed that I cast my buffs, right? Look at that. So when you're in a pinch and you're trying to cast things, you actually have decent cast rate, because you've got the increased attack speed to lay traps super fast, but also the cast rate to back it up, which is useful when you're teleporting. Because, as usual, the goated spell steal on switch. So you got, you know, amp we never use on this build, but it is for the teleports. I mean, if I was using an Act 2 mercenary, definitely would be using the amp. And I have considered it. But I really like slow movement. Watching the enemies crawl through a shock web, like mat on the floor, and get burnt is satisfying. Anyway, moving on. So I got a Dwarf Star. Again, because I had no skill ring. If I had another skill ring, obviously, but this is great for me because it has MDR, Fire Absorb, Life, Blocking, and a tiny bit of physical damage reduction. Even the huge gold fine for gambling. It's all good stuff. You know, I like Dwarf Star. It's a shame that you never really get to use it that much because there's always something better. But if one comes along early enough, it's GG. And speaking of GG, although they have an absolutely rubbish slam, I mean, to be honest, the slam doesn't really matter on these. You just want the fire skills and cast rate, so you can get, again, your buffs casted quicker. And fire skills, obviously, pluses to your Death Sentry, your Fire Blast, and your Wake of Inferno. So yeah, and then we have Call to Arms and a Strength ring, because as soon as I put that on, I lose the shield, because I need the Strength. So that's my gear. Charms, I've only got one plain Trap Skiller, because I gave them all away this season. So I was like, oh, Dean, testing a trap build without Trap Skillers, what will you do? I was like, well, what I could do is damage charms. Now, these are obviously pretty cool. So as you can see, my shockweb is 11k. You know, take that off. Well, it's 1 to 10, 628. I'll put that on. It's 2 to 10, 872. So these charms do have, you know, their perks in using them. You could mix and match. I mean, me personally, because I'm going for the, you know, fire and lightning, so I've got the 2 damage factor. I would just have Trap Skillers all the way along, and then fill the gaps with resistances, life, and all that in the form of small charms like these. I've got a couple of 20 lifers because I do have another lightning skill charm I could have put in there, but you're squishy. You're a squishy assassin, so some life isn't, you know, unheard of. But yeah, we got the Annie with massive reses to make sure I could, you know, again, got to keep the res up. Torch, same reasons. And then, yeah, my fire charms are all on my Corpse Explosion Paladin. Check the vid. So, yeah, I've only got 2 to fire skill damage on these. None of them are, like, you know, they're decent for low level, 14, 19 and that, but not good for endgame. So either Trap Skillers or Lightning, Fire, Large Charms. Take your pick. It's up to you guys. Do breakpoints then, see as we're here. Right, so I've got massively overstacked res, so I can do Uber Tristram with the Cold and Lightning. I can obviously, if I get convictioned anywhere else in the game as well, I can take that hit. As you can see, I've only got a tiny bit of damage reduction, and that was from the Dwarf Star Slam. 17 MDR flat from, again, Dwarf Star and the other rare ring. So you're pretty squishy, but Cloak of Shadows is your friend, keeping you safe. Just cast that as soon as you see a scary mob, they get shut down. Elemental Masteries, yeah, we got some little bit of Pierce from the Facet, which does work with Fire Blast and Shockweb. Absorb, as you can see from the Dwarf Star, whatever. Right, so anyway, the proper breakpoints. Faster Run Walk is 40, as you can see from my 10% slam there and my Sandstorm treks. But if I was to quickly jump out, you'd see the crazy velocity with this thing. So what we do that. Crazy cast speed, right? And then we put that back on because it's actually more skill point beneficial. Crank and crank, and then look, you know, we're running pretty damn fast with that. Still, obviously, still says 40 faster run walk, but that increases like velocity from burst to speed and stuff. So block rate is 47, but you only really need 32. Increased attack speed 40, which is more than enough for, as I said, with Fire Blast we have a 9 frames. Which is pretty respectable still. Hit recovery 52, so we're at the 48 breakpoint. I mean, 86 is great if you're a melee character. I mean, we're in melee range, but not right toe-to-toe. You know, once the Frost Novas start kicking off, you are toe-to-toe. That's your indication. But it doesn't matter. You're still going to be pretty safe. Most things are melting at that point. Yeah, and as you can see, we've got the 102 cast rate breakpoint on Switch because Spellsteel has 30 cast rate. So we're teleporting very fast. So that's me done. Now Mercenary. So this chick has got a Pus Spitter. Again, it's a pretty awful one. I do have a 4-socket one on the Vines of Vengeance character I could have robbed, but again, I don't do that. I just stick with what I've got. In order to keep this character from not being so squishy, I would definitely change my gear around quite significantly. I was talking about it on stream yesterday. So we want this to be as fast as possible. So 4 sockets, 4 shales, done. It has life on hit. This one rolled max, so it keeps her alive. And she's just there to proc that lower resist. And it procs very often with 28% chance. It's fantastic. So then I've got just a Tarnhelm with Cannot Be Frozen. She's had that on since level 15, to be honest. What I would put there is actually a Rock Stopper, the Sallet. So you get the reses, and you get the physical damage reduction. I'd have better bolts. I mean, they're not terrible bolts, but they're not brilliant for her. Probably some reses on there. I would probably stick with Crowcore because I really like it for what it does. It gives the pierce, the increased attack speed, etc. But in this example, I might even put on because she's getting a bit up close, and sometimes I use her as a, you know, a lemming if there's a particularly bad pack and I run away in a map and she gets caught up in it. It's not very often because I'll teleport away. I would put maybe a Shaft Stop here, for example. I have a Pimp one with Cannot Be Frozen given to me by a friend. I was thinking about putting it here, but I just never got around to it this morning. Busy day. So Treads as usual for the Pierce. These ones roll Big Life, so which is really handy for this character because she's squishy. So I'd probably keep that slot as well. Like I said, I'd probably just change these two maybe. Shaft Stop and, you know, Rock Stopper. I would definitely change the belt to, which I don't know why I haven't. I would put on Nosferatu's Coil for the slowest target and life leech, strength and things to help equip better gear, etc. And Lava Gouts, I just randomly threw these on because I haven't had a pair of Lava Gouts drop all season. No joke, I've been playing all season, no Lava Gouts, and I found these on the playthrough, I think, with this character. And I was like, do you know what? I'm putting them on. Because the 26 to 92 is actually really nice, plus the enchant fire damage when it's active for a Vengeance character. So I could have put these on my Vines of Vengeance Druid, because the half-freeze duration, you just need another half-freeze item, of course, and you got Cannot Be Frozen, max fire res, these rolled max. It's very, very nice stuff, but I'm keeping it here. Even though the enchant's useless to me, you know, it's just nice to see it pop off fireworks, you know, it's crazy. But yeah, I would change the Mercenary around big time, and as I said, you want to be thinking about breaking out the old Infinity, because then that way, you're both in combat together, you and the Mercenary. He's tanking, you're tanking. We cast Weaken from the helmet. instead of lower resist, because that's always active. And it does mean, when we go over skills now, which I've done this out of order than usual, then we can put points in to the martial art tree and actually have Dragonflight. Because right now I don't bother with Dragonflight, because she's too squishy to get jumped into a pack. She'll just die. And because we run fast with burst of speed, I just run up to the pack and deal with it. So that's why I don't have Dragonflight on this build. But if I had an Act 2 Merc, probably would. If you fancy it, go for it. But there's clips on my YouTube channel of me Dragonflighting in and getting rinsed when I was a sort of trapper / ranged build. So, you know, PTSD from that, so I'm just not doing it with this character. Right, Shadow Disciplines. We have 5 hard points in burst of speed, so that we can have the 9 frames. I actually think it's too much, because I was looking at skill calcs and I was looking at skill planner builders. Between Walls is one, which is fantastic, but it's not updated, but we'll get to that in a minute. In here, it's just, you know, your 1.1 to Cloak of Shadows, fantastic skill, locks enemies down, smash them up. And I said, enough weapon block. Apparently you don't need hard points in this anymore, and I don't know when that changed, but I've got an extra 16%, so I could have just put 1 point in that instead of 2. It's only 1 point, it doesn't really matter, but still. And then same with this, I probably could have shaved some points out of here, just 1 point wonders. I'll figure it out next season. But yeah, the all-important trap tree. So we've got all the way down to here, 1 point wonders. I should have put another point in Blade Shield, because I do have room for that one last point. Every 2 base levels you get an extra frame, so it'd be 0.7 instead of 8, just for the low investment of 2 skill points. I'm fine with that. We don't have enough points to max it, we need to put everything into synergies, because, you know, the trap tree is a beast for that. So we've got Max Fire Blast, of course, which is synergized by pretty much everything in here. So GG. Shockweb. Again, fantastic skill, does crazy amounts of damage. But in Between Walls' skill planner, it says that Death Sentry is still a synergy for Shockweb, which is why, initially, as a happy little accident, Bob Ross, I slammed in, you know, Max here. It's not Max now, but it was before in the skill planner. And it does very respectable damage, which is why I kept it. But it's not a synergy for that. So I was like, oh, geez. And it's not a synergy for that either. However, because we max Fire Blast and Wake of Inferno for boss killing, Wake of Inferno is a beast, because the damage range is so tight. Like when I'm fighting Bale or anyone like that, I'll lay down 5 Wake of Infernos on him, and then just spam Shockweb and Fire Blast till he goes down. And believe me, it goes... that combination wrecks bosses. But against like general nerd herds in maps, so white mobs, you know, depending on what their immunity is, I mean, obviously you're doing maps where it's sympathetic to lightning and fire, but sometimes there's a boss pack that has fire enchant and takes him up into the immunity. So I will lay down Shockweb, and then maybe Charge Bolt Sentry, which is the next thing I max. Or if it's immune to lightning, I will lay down Fire Blast, couple of Wake of Infernos, but mostly Death Sentries, because it's fire physical. I also, if I'm a bit lazy in maps, I'll just lay Shockweb and Death Sentry for the physical, and just watch everything wreck, because Shockweb just wrecks. So yeah, that's the general layout there. Obviously you could put things where you want. Some people like to get a bit of Lightning Sentry in there, and be a trapper. For me, like I said, it's mostly just Fire Blast, Death Sentry, Shockweb, Death Sentry. Occasionally I'll pepper in some Wake of Inferno or Charge Bolt Sentry. So, max it, max it, max it. More or less max it. I think you only get to 18 points the way I've laid it out. And then max it. Yeah, let's do a quick bit of example gameplay. I think that's everything. In the comment section, please let me know if I've messed up again and it's not everything. Oh yeah, there we go. It's not everything. I'll talk about maps. So, I tested out on stream yesterday a tier 1 map with 14%, so 1% off of max increased life on all the monsters. And with the Mercenary dying a few times, dilly-dallying around with slamming items and talking to chat and things, it took me 30 minutes, roughly, I think. I started at 4 minutes, I think, and it took me 34 on the clock, so yeah, half an hour, I think. And then I did another tier 1 map. Oh yeah, by the way, before I do anything, sorry, speaking of which, sympathetic maps for this character. So, what you want to do is, I like Shadows of Westmarch. That was the first one I did with the increased max life. And you can smash the boss, because he comes running at you and lays those fire blasts on the floor. So you can dodge them fairly easily with your faster run walk, and then just lay shockwebs down and run away from him, and he'll run into the shockwebs like an idiot and die. So it's not that scary. And the map's very sympathetic to, as you can see, fire and lightning only have 75%. So there's poison immunities, physical immunities, and you're like, care. Just slam them down with the elements. It's great. And then same with Royal Crypts. You know, there's cold immunes and magic immunes. And it's like, again, haha, good for me. In fact, Royal Crypts, you could argue, is actually better because there's no physical immunes in there, unless a pack spawn Stone Skin, of course. But I tend to find they were spawning lightning immune more, I think. But I was just blowing everything up in that map with Death Sentry. So yeah, they're your two tier 1s. Tier 2, it's... oh, I don't remember. Yeah, River Blood. So again, it's River Blood is kind of like Royal Crypts in the sense that there's no physical immune unless it spawns Stone Skin. So you can get some really good explosions there. And then lastly, it's one that everyone sort of tends to hate and doesn't do it for some reason. But I love Ashen Plains. And Ashen Plains is very sympathetic, as you can see. So yeah, those are your maps. Anyway, that's all, folks. Right, so we slam on the things with the things, for example, gameplay. Then we do battle orders, as I showed you earlier. And then we buff ourselves. And we run in and then do that, do that. See, look, he moved through the web. Shockweb's a weird one, guys, like I said, because in the old days, I believe the mechanic was that is a point to point there. So it's not necessarily the white stuff that is the mat that they land on, but it's when they walk through a point, I believe. I don't know if it's the same in PD2 anymore. You'd have to fact check me. But there you go, they were lightning immune, so just chuck out the fire blasts. You know, you can do it from a distance or get right up close, and it's a lot quicker, as you can see. But yeah, Shockweb, as I say, if they walk through point to point, then they get rinsed. And as many points as they walk through, I don't think it stacks. I think it just rechecks. So you lay it down, it's like, oh, that one was, you know, because it's 2 to 11k with the battle orders. It's like, oh, that one, you only did it for 2 damage. Then it's like, oh, and they walk through there, it was 3 damage. Walk through that one, it's 10k damage. So it's like bam, 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 sort of thing. It's a very weird mechanical skill, but because it melts things so quickly, it's like, I don't really care to understand it to the point where I have to sort of explain it to someone. But look, just lay it down, watch, run away. Watch them melt, see? Who cares, right? Very irresponsible video making, I know. If you're mad at me, fair enough, I understand. So yeah, that looks scary. We'll teleport the Mercenary away, and then we'll tank it. The Mercenary lays down the lower resist for us. We just firebomb Kobe everything. There you go, job's good. So as I said, it's not the fastest mapper in the world, but it's a lot of fun. You find yourself sort of occupied, you know, you're walking around, you're chilling, so, oh, they're dangerous, quick, let's lay down some corpse and trap explosiony boys. They're immune to fire, so as you can see, they're locked up, and lots of corpse explosions going off there to help us out. Awesome. Corpse explosion is a bit of an MVP, I would argue. It's when the scary stuff, oh my gosh, look at that, that's a lovely little charm. 20 live fire res 6. Have to get it in a video, right? And not end of season. Unbelievable. Well, everybody, I hope you liked that. It's a great build. As I said, you don't have to go with the wacky skills, set like I have. I just love the idea of looking a bit unique. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care, everyone, and I hope that once I've moved house, I'll see you all in Season 11 for more wacky builds.